18th? Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Neiman Young, one of the assistant city managers for the city of Corpus Christi. And today I would like to welcome you all to the 17th press conference of 17th and hopefully the final press conference of a very important project, which is the Yorktown Mud Bridge. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank some of our guests here that we have here today, which would be the Mayor, Paulette Guajardo. We have Councilman Dan Suckley, Councilman Gil Hernandez, and the City Manager, Peter Zanoni. And here today, we are here to deliver to you all, as promised, the completion of this very important corridor to our citizens in the Flower Bluff community, the Padre Island community, and the city as a greater whole. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to the Mayor, Ms. Paulette Guajardo. Thank you all.
Okay. Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here. I'm sorry the sun's not out, but I don't know, are we though? That could be really hot. I want to begin this morning by also recognizing we have, excuse me, I'm sorry, Jose Pereira, the District Director for Senator Morgan Lamantia with us. Jose, there you are. Thank you for being with us this morning. And as mentioned, our District Councilman, Dan Suckley, our District 5 Councilman, Gil Hernandez, with us today as well. So, a properly maintained infrastructure is paramount, as we all know, to the success of any city, especially ours, of course, and preserving our roadways helps us to ensure that Corpus Christi motorists can travel throughout the city safely. So back in December, when the city was notified about a potential issue with the mud bridge via our 311 call system, crews were immediately dispatched to inspect the bridge, and that is when the work began. And that brings us to today. The repairs are complete, and now the city's Public Works Department has put into place new procedures that will help safeguard motorists that travel citywide, all over, across any of our bridges. So under the direction of Director Ernesto de la Garza, the department will annually inspect and maintain all bridges owned by the city. I want to take the time to thank our City Manager, Peter Zanoni, Assistant City Manager, Neiman Young, the Engineering and Public Works leadership teams, and all of our city staff that had a big effect in the way that this project was completed and handled. So working together with Anderson Columbia Company and Friesen Nichols, the project was completed almost 2 weeks ahead of time of the initially scheduled date, which is, I know, a very, very big deal for not only city staff, but also for all the residents that this affected. I also want to thank especially those residents in the community for their patience during this process. We understand that it was a significant inconvenience, and we truly appreciate your patience. I think all of us received, emails and text messages or phone calls regarding, when is this going to be done? And again, we know it affected thousands of people having to, go around the longer route home. This was something that was unexpected. We addressed it, and we commit to continuing to maintain, to commit to inspecting our bridges because they're critical, as you all know. So now I would like to introduce our City Manager, Peter Zanoni, to give you a little bit more information and insight. And let me recognize we have Councilman Mike Pusley, who just joined us as well. Thank you for joining us, sir. Peter. Yeah, sure.
Thank you, Mayor, and good morning, everyone. As the Mayor said, I'm Peter Zanoni, the City Manager for the City of Corpus Christi. And we want to thank you for joining us today for the reopening of what is known as Mud Bridge or Yorktown Bridge. We know we want to try to be quick because I think there's a lot of motorists waiting to come across. I heard some of the media alerts earlier in the week. But as the Mayor said, and as we're aware, back in December, the city initiated an emergency closure of Mud Bridge after there was a washout and a sinkhole caused from neglect of maintenance, but also from the concrete itself that was used back in the 1980s with a different set of technologies that's used today. The engineers were talking to me about this morning as we were gathering. In the 80s, when concrete was made, the aggregate or the rock and the concrete itself, in some cases, had a negative reaction, which caused expansion and then cracking. And we believe that's some of the issue here. So it's not 100% that we didn't maintain it. It's that initially the construction technologies of the time were not as good as today. Plus the construction itself, which was initially built for the county, this wasn't a city bridge, was not the most astute. The embankment was an articulated mat that eventually washed away. It wasn't solid structure. So we have committed, though, as the mayor said, and as our council members know, especially Councilman Hernandez, that maintenance is important in our profile of running the city. And I was driving here, it also dawned on me that money is important as well. And so our community, I know in Texas we don't like taxes, but this community has said time and again, we're willing to pay if you invest and make our infrastructure better. That includes roads, that includes parks. And so we have to be committed to the community, and I think the community is committed to sharing their monies with the city to have a better environment. And it's important to bring that up today because we're getting ready to start the budget process, and we do need monies to do things like basic maintenance and improve our quality of life infrastructure like swimming pools and other assets as such. So as I mentioned, and as the mayor mentioned, the project initially was going to be several months in length, 70 working days. Due to our great working relationship that we have with the private sector contractors, and in this case, Anderson-Columbia actually beat the time by 10 days, by close to 2 weeks. That just didn't happen because they had adverse conditions they had to work through to include extreme weather events, tidal issues. They remedied that by working on the weekends, bringing their crews in on the weekends and keeping them as late as they could in the daytime. Several members of Anderson-Columbia are here. Anderson-Columbia, as you may know, is a new big company in Corpus Christi, headquartered here for the region. They acquired they acquired Haas Anderson, Columbia. So Anderson-Columbia is the new company, but they are the largest road and bridge contractor in Florida. And they've been in Texas. They've made Corpus Christi their headquarters for the region in Texas. So the work that you can see here, this expediency, the dedication, and the crews demonstrate we have great companies helping us here in Corpus Christi. So we want to thank Anderson-Columbia. Kent Voss where's Kent? Is your first name Kent? Jake, Voss. Okay, we got the last name right. So Jake is he's been the project manager. A lot of times the owners and the lead people get the credit. We want to thank Jake for managing the project and working it day in and day out. Thank you, Jake, for doing that. So just to recap, we're gonna open it soon, but it's always good to reflect back on what we did. There were 3 phases to this project. Phase 1 was restoring the embankments. They were washed out significantly. We had to restore them. We had to rebuild buttresses and walls, retaining walls. That was phase 1. Once that was done, the private sector crews addressed 26 pilings under the bridge that had spalled and cracked and were, in some cases, pretty scary looking. They did that as phase 2. Then phase 3 is what we see here today, some of the replacement of the roadway, a nice overlay, replacing guardrails, putting up new signage. We did have some residents say, why are you paving it? Let's just drive over it. We're ready to go. It's not any worse than any other street, but the repaving actually helps to seal it, especially over the bridge, sealing the joints, preventing water infiltration and intrusion. So it's as much as a drivability issue as it is as a maintenance issue. And so we're glad that Anderson-Columbia did that as well. So some quick numbers to reflect on this morning. This 26 pile repairs that were done, 9 bent caps. We all know what those are by now, right? The things that go on top. 9 of those were repaired. There was 845 tons of new asphalt laid on this project. 135 feet of rebar. New riprap was included behind me by the water. New guardrails you can see over here. erosion repairs, pothole and shoulder repair, and hydro mulching. The green eventually will turn into grass and keep the dirt over here. So the project cost $2.7 million. Not an inexpensive project, but we were able to fund it because for the first time ever in the city's history, we have a dedicated stormwater fee, and we had monies in there for emergency projects in and around this $2.5 million. So had we not had that dedicated stormwater fee, we would probably be not doing another project to do this one. So we're thankful to the City Council for the first time in 3 decades finally passing that stormwater fee. That helps us with stormwater projects, with bridges, with street sweeping, and clearing our channels, our earthen channels. $2.5 million in CIP funds will be needed in the coming year to do our annual maintenance program. As Ernesto, our new Public Works Director, said, you know, TxDOT can be producing reports all day long on bridge maintenance and bridge stability, but if you have no one in the city that knows how to read those technical reports, it's, you know, you're just producing them for who knows what. So Ernesto brought that to our attention that, hey, we need crews in our city team or contractors to help us take the information from TxDOT and understand it and react to it. So that's our new plan going forward. We'll have a proactive maintenance program for some 68 bridges across our community that we didn't have up until now. So let me just see what else here that's important. The only other thing I want to comment on this morning, and then we're going to welcome up Councilman Suckley, is that this press briefing, we wanted to have it. We could have just opened the traffic, opened the bridge and let the folks come by, but we wanted to conclude what Neiman has said, what we know to be 17th. This is the 17th time we've engaged the community, and we've done it every single week since December. And that's one of our business principles, which is communication to the public, transparency, openness, giving them information. And sometimes it wasn't good information. I stood right here to unfortunately tell the community what we thought we were going to fix in 3 days, turned into 3 weeks, and then it turned into 3 months once we got the final inspection. Nobody wants to hear that. Nobody wants to be up here saying that. But at least the community knew and then could react appropriately. So those transparent, consistent, every week messaging briefings that we had every Wednesday are concluded today with the 17th one. And I just want to highlight that the City Council and myself and our teams are open to the public. And we have transparent business practices, and we want to engage the public, and we want to hear from them as well. So with that, let's hear from one of our council members who engages the public quite frequently, and that's Councilman Dan Suckley. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you, City Manager Zanoni. Lots already been said, so I won't be redundant and say the same things over again, but being the councilman for District 4, understand the importance of this bridge. I've lived in this community for 40 years, and it's traversed by a lot of us, back and forth to work, to school, to all kinds of stuff. So it has been a hardship on our community, and like has been said, appreciate the patience of our community, and Peter and staff have been great in terms of providing communication in the weekly updates. That's been helpful. It was unfortunate this happened in December. Nobody expected it to happen. But we got on it with the help of engineers, and obviously our Public Works Department has a lot of credit for what's transpired here. But the engineers and the contractors led by Jake and Austin Carter and Randall Moore, appreciate them and all their efforts to move this forward. So with that being said, let's start some traffic moving here shortly, and I'll turn it back over to Communications Director Cobbs. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Logan Cobbs, Director of Communications here at the city. Thank you all again for attending today's rededication ceremony. To our city manager, Peter Zanoni's point, the community is waiting to use this bridge. So let's go ahead and get this open. At this time, I would like to invite the mayor and our council, any other dignitaries, and the city manager to stand near this sign here, and we will be flipping it to open. So please. Just stand near the sign here. Come on over. Thank you, bud. Absolutely. I'm
Right. And we're gonna count down to 10. She told me to go a little fast. Right. Oh, come on, guys.
Matthew, it's because Brian's shooting. No, you're good.
All right, at this time, the mayor will start the countdown.
Okay, ready? So we're gonna count down from 10. Ready? 10.
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Is it on?
Yes.
Oh, and here comes the first car. There you go. Woo! The first car, who is that? Do we know?
It's one of us. Public Works Supervisor.
Oh, is it?
Good job. Yeah.
Oh, there we go. Okay. Awesome. Yep.
And that concludes our event. Thank you all so much.